Okay, I am recording on all fronts. This is about my testimony from the ages 1 to 12. And where's my notebook? I literally, where did I put my notebook? Pause. Alright, we're back at it again with the scriptures. Well, not scriptures, but our testimony, right? So, I was born in Eagleville, Florida, um, to Robert and Inell, right? And it's honestly kind of crazy because I know that I don't think anybody from where I grew up has really seen my channel, because if they did, they would definitely be hating me and definitely be leaving me nasty comments. And I do feel like that's part of the reason it took me a while to start YouTube, because everybody literally knows my family in Eatonville, at least where I grew up, right? And I know for a fact if they saw my channel, they could not fathom that this was my life. And I know that my dad's siblings, he has 8 siblings, no, he has 9 siblings, and my mom probably has, I don't even know how many, probably closer to 20. And I know that if they saw my channel, I would definitely have a lot of hate and a lot of, Stephanie, come back home, we love you. But the reality is, I had a very rough childhood, and I had a very difficult first stages of life. And to the point where I'm 30 and I'm still remembering random things from my childhood that I had forgot when I had DID or suppressed because it was not safe to remember them. And yeah, so like recently I just remembered that I remember being like younger, very young, like a baby, like younger than 4, and I remember like trying to interact with my mom and trying to get her to like hug me or even pay attention to me as a little kid, and she just did not at all. And I already suspected that I probably didn't get like nuzzled or hugged or smiled at or interacted with as a baby, because I struggle with facial expressions, and a part of that is because my parents did not smile at me. They did not like cuddle with me when I was a baby. They didn't really do anything to like get that emotional response that I can understand facial expressions. And I've done a lot of work, and thank God for discernment, because I'd be in a worse place if I didn't have discernment. I would be absolutely lost with facial expressions. But when I was 4 years old, I was already used to being abused by my father. Oh, also a warning, you guys. This testimony is extremely. I'm not gonna like go into lots of detail about like the abuse. I'm just gonna keep it very generic, but enough that you understand what I went through. And when I was 4, I was already used to. So this is just my warning for you guys. But when I was 4, I was used to being abused. Let's call it petting, or just things that were not penetrative. my biological father, and if I did not go along with it, he wouldn't give me food. As well as a little backstory, my mom wasn't really there from the ages of like 0 to like 14. She just wasn't like in the house. She only had 1 day off a week, and she did not. And when she was there, um, she again didn't really react with me. Like she didn't interact with me. It was more of pick your stuff up, just blatantly not really engaging with me in any way that was social. The first formative years, it was more of criticism, and it was more of, I felt like my mom was really, it's like if my dad told her to do anything or he said anything, she would just automatically believe it instead of thinking that, like, even caring about what I said or thought or felt. Not that I could say I felt in general. Um, so yeah, and that's also when I was 4. Is also around, I would say around the ages of 4 to 6 is around the time where I started saying jam a lot, and which to me at that time it meant Jesus and me, and it still does. That's why my channel's name is that, the Stephanie Jam video channel. But she, which is also why I feel like, God comes to people that seek him out. I didn't, if you think about it, my family was clearly not Christian, and they persuaded people that they were, but they're deep in witchcraft. But somehow God still met me where I was as a 4-year-old, as a 5-year-old, as a 6-year-old, to have me to be walking around saying Jesus and me, and walking like I'm on the moon when I'm literally being abused by my own dad. And then I would say when I went to sit, when I was like, I don't really remember being 5, but I remember being 6 because I started school when I was 6. I have a late birthday, so yeah, I started school when I was 6. I remember I just had a lot of hatred. I had a lot of hatred for people. I had a lot of hatred for my dad. I was sick of him. I was sick of him abusing me. I was used to being starved. I remember when I started preschool, because I went to pre-K and then I went to kindergarten. And I remember in kindergarten that the other kids were molesting each other in kindergarten. And I was like, great, more of this stuff here. Like, I can't have any relief from, like, abuse. But of course, I didn't think it was abuse. I'm just like, why does everybody keep showing me their body parts and trying to, like, get me invested in their body parts? Like, I don't want to be involved in this. And I remember thinking that at 6. I also thought that I was also very jaded. I felt like other kids were immature. I felt like I didn't relate. I was very much like the TV mentality of old prostitute. That's how I felt. I just felt like I'm sick of this. I'm sick of being here. I'm sick of all of y'all. Um, yeah. I also remember that my dad would come to I think he went to, I don't know what field trip we went on, but he went to a field trip with us. And I remember there was this girl in my class that didn't have a dad, and she kind of like clung on to my dad. And I remember she tried to hold my dad's hand, and I had pushed her hand off of my dad from holding his hand because I didn't want her to get abused as well. And my dad took that as like, oh, you just jealous, you want to like be with me. And I'm like, no, I literally don't like you. I'm repulsed by you. I just don't want other kids to get hurt by you. Because I feel like I didn't know what my dad was doing, Like, I didn't know in context if it was sexual abuse, but I knew that it was wrong, and I knew I didn't like it. And then when I turned 7 or 8, right, which is the oh, by the way, during this time, I also did have a relationship with my sisters. My sisters are 4 years and 8 years older than me, but the one closest to me, we actually did do karaoke. My family would play Sounds of Blackness. They played BB and CC Winans in the living room and well, in our TV room from the original house we lived in. And I used to love music. I would listen to the music. I watch everybody dance, and I would just enjoy it. Like I just love music. And but when I hit 7 or no, I'm sorry, when I hit 8 or 9 is when I actually accepted Jesus Christ, and it's like as soon as I accepted Jesus Christ, it's like my whole life fell apart. I was already being abused, but it got 100% worse. Like it got really bad. And I'm trying not to cry, but it's like it really did get really bad. Um, I accepted Jesus Christ in Macedonia, Missionary Baptist Church, which is the church my family went to at that time. And I remember crying. Oh yeah, before I even accepted Christ, I actually knew Christ was also real because I already had like Jesus like talking to me before knowing who he was. And then um, I remember I was in school and there was these stuffed animal dogs that were up for raffle, and I was like, man, Jesus, if you're like actually real, can you let me like win this, because I literally win nothing. And then I won it, and I just sat there and stared, and I was like, I just couldn't believe. Did you just die? I don't know. Anyway, I just couldn't believe that I won. But anyway, I'm checking my camera because it did something. That's why I'm recording twice, so I don't miss it. Hopefully. In the name of Jesus. But anyway, so yeah, I accept Christ from 8 to 9. And during that time is when my dad started like physical. I'm sure you can think about what I mean. He started to essay me, right? Uh, and he did it for a full year. I remember I remember the first time very vividly. I remember I screamed so hard, and the neighbor actually called Child Protective Services, but they had the wrong address, so they just left. And I was like, dang, I'm stuck with this person. Like, I'm sick of this man. And I remember during that time when I would look back on it, and when I still look back on it, I remember being unconscious a lot. I remember leaving my physical body and seeing my body and being with Christ. I remember I remember the pain, but I don't feel the pain. Does it emotionally hurt sometimes? Yeah, it does. Um, but I also remember that that first year I just was assaulted the first year continuously. And after that, my dad also started like taking me outside of the house once I started school because he had less access to me. And he started assaulting me outside school, well, outside of the home. So I was already sick of it. And I was like, he would carry me and be like, oh, we're going to lunch, or oh, we're just going to go spend time together. And just isolating me during the ages of 9 to 8. And then my sisters also started just avidly hating me, and I have no idea why. I still don't know why. Um, I know that there was probably some conversation that I wasn't a part of that caused the isolation of me, but I still don't know to this day. I probably will never know, and that's just the reality. And then from 9 to 11, my dad allowed me to, my dad and my mother, because my mom knew the whole time. Because the day that I got sexually assaulted the first day was literally a Wednesday, and she was supposed to be home that day, and she never came home until late night, which she never had done for years. And then I also remember times where she was in the room where I was being assaulted. So she did. And sometimes when I try to tell people, they would be like, "Oh, well, your mom must have just been scared." I'm trying to I don't know. I'm trying to be honest. Like, you're a grown woman, and I'm a 9-year old, or 8-year old, and your husband is sexually assaulting your child, and you're watching, and then you allow me to be prostituted. Does that sound like fear to you? Like, in reality, does that sound like fear? Anyway, because you also got money off of my back, right? So, anyway, from 9 to 11, I was prostituted. Um, I was assaulted by family members, my dad's brothers. I think about 3 of them. One continuously, who I'm pretty sure fathered a child with me. Who then, my parents also were funneling me medicine at this time. My mom would have me drink random tonics. She would have me eat vitamins, and I'm pretty positive that they gave me a plan B around the time I was 11, and my child died. And I know it was a girl, and I've seen her in dreams, in visions, in spirit realm. So yeah, my uncle got me pregnant when I was 11, and then he stopped being allowed to come around the house, and he got married around the same time. And I remember everything about that time, and I remember how depressed I got and sad, and then I got highly obsessed with being pregnant after that, but also got group essayed because my dad allowed me to be in that, and he allowed me to go to people's houses where they would pick little girls and they would assault them, and then what else? Oh yeah, my great grandma died, and after my child died, I stopped eating. Um, yeah, I was just very isolated at the time. I think that I also thought that if I had a child at that time, that I would just not be alone. And then she died, and I felt her be alive, and I didn't understand it because I was literally 11. But I've honestly just remembered this year, and I think when you go through traumatic things, sometimes you don't have the memory of the whole thing, and then later it shows up, or like pieces start to fit into place and you understand. But yeah, I understood it this year, so I've been grieving that a bit, off and on. Anyway, uh, when I was multiple times during this time, probably at least 5 times from the age of 1 to 12, I tried to commit suicide. I think around the first time that I got assaulted, I took a lot of my dad's medication. I just threw up and went to sleep. Didn't work. Um, I tried. I tried self harm. Didn't work multiple times. And every time I remember those times, I remember God picking me up, taking me to my bed, laying me down, tucking me in, and I didn't die. Um, oh yeah, this guy. I remember I was just irritated. I said I was irritated. No, but like the story, when I think about it, I remember like, oh, um, around the age of probably, probably around that time, I also, um, I know I repeated third grade twice. And I was actually very thankful that I repeated third grade because the people that went to third grade without me were having sex in the bathroom in elementary school. Girls and boys, and with the same gender as well. And I know I couldn't have handled that. I would have felt pressured to do stuff. And because I was afraid, I probably would have did it because I wasn't really allowed to say no. So that's what I was used to. Because, yeah, I'm a child. Um, and they're like 30 or 40. But, well, yeah, I started also, I used to have like knots I kept under my bed to attack my dad during the nighttime because he started coming at night too. So I would stay awake during the night and I would sleep in the morning times to go to school. Or I also, when I was a kid, my dad would be overly possessive. I remember a kid hugged me in preschool and he was like, "Don't hug my kid." He was very possessive. I felt like I belonged to my dad and to my mom, but as like a relationship, I felt like I belonged to my dad. I did not like that at all. I felt like he was always watching me, always. I talk about this in the predator pattern, so I'm not really gonna go into that a lot more right now. But I just felt like I wasn't my own person. Um, so a lot of times when kids are like, "Ooh, Stephanie's cool, let me hug her," he was like, "Don't hug my kid." But he also didn't hug me either because I think he thought that he was gonna get caught if he hugged me. Like I remember one time I was crying in church and he just like pushed me off, and I'm like, mm. But anyway, I remember a kid forced me into a kiss on third grade, and I kind of think that's why they made me stay back because I think the kid told his mom, and the mom was like, "That girl kissed my son," and I was just like, "I don't even like this dude. He kissed me. I didn't ask for that. Teach your kid consent." Um, yeah, so technically, I got forced into my first kiss by this guy named Keon. I just want to point out that that was not okay. I hope you grew out of that. Anyway, um, um, I'm sorry. Oh, also, I I learned a lot of Bible studies through children's church as a kid. My mom did teach children's church, but she was like a fake person in children's church. She was nice and sweet and funny, and she sang songs. And when we were at home, she did not do any of that. But I got to learn a lot of God through children's church, and I got to explore my faith more in children's church when I was a kid at Macedonia. Um, Also, I feel like puberty really bothered me as a child. I already felt like I was a target, and I literally didn't even have no body development, and it was like people were all over me. men specifically at this time, and little girls sometimes, because little girls can be aggressive. I don't know if y'all know that, but little girls, they be issues too. They be like, let me see your tatas or other stuff. Like, no, I want to keep my body myself. Leave me alone. Um, this is also the time where I think my personalities, because I had dissociative identity disorder around that time. I think that's when they fully cemented when I was around 8 or 9. I think they were already developing before that, but they were, of course, they were, because that's the requirement for the thingy. But I think in third grade is when I was very like, they were fully encapsulated to do their jobs. But I think they started when I was around 4, because I had some of the personalities that were um, actually named. I have one that was named for, and then one that was a baby. That was, well, not a baby, but like a kid, like a toddler. So I knew they were there. That's my theory. Around this same time of when the abuse started, but I think fully I was aware of them and talking to them openly around that time. And they also had a little bit of a family system when I was around 8 and 9, because I would write their names down and I would be like Cherry, because their names would grow as I grew. One of them's name was Cherry, one of them's name was Sapphire, one's name was Sparkles, just different things. And I would write them down when I was a kid, and I would write my own name down. Um, but yeah, also, I just felt when I started puberty, it made me a target, and I did not like that. I wanted to not grow. I wanted to be adorable, and I felt like I never got to be adorable because my dad was a pedophile. So everything that everyone thought was like, oh, she's so cute. She had pigtails and she's in a little dress. He was like, that child. I don't like that. I did not like that. I was angry by that. That's how pedophiles think. That's just the reality. They don't see children as children, they see them as attractive beings, and I felt like I was forced to be an attractive being at a young age, and I did not like that. And then when puberty started, I was like, ugh. So yeah, there you go, explanation. Um, Also, around the same time that I was being abused, it's like my sister started making these. She started using techniques to get me in trouble. And it was like the same technique. And my family would never see it. And it was like I always got in trouble for stuff I never did or she did, which also isolated me. Like, I remember one time she pushed me and I saw stars, and she didn't get in trouble. And I just realized that I just was treated differently, and I just got in trouble for everything that I wasn't even doing. I got called a liar when I wasn't lying. I also did steal. I was stealing a lot. I had a technique. I was stealing food from probably 4 years old to 11, because I wasn't allowed to just eat. Like, I couldn't go in the fridge and be like, a sandwich, let me eat that. I had to either stay up at night, wait till everybody went to sleep, eat the food, or I have to go to school, steal coins off my dad's dresser, because I had a technique, and he never caught me. When I was stealing, they never caught me. When I was lying, never got caught. But yeah, I was stealing food, stealing coins, stealing money sometimes. Rarely out of my mom's purse, but mostly off my dad's dresser, because I just didn't like him. I'll be honest, I just didn't like him, so I was stealing from him. Um, if people came over for social gatherings, I would drink their drinks and eat the rest of their food, because I knew I probably wouldn't have nothing to eat. Um, but nobody knew. And I don't think it annoyed me that much at that time. I just was trying to survive and not starve to death. as well as just function. Um, but yeah, when I used to get in trouble for stuff that I never did or wasn't doing, I feel like when I got told I was a liar, that's what turned me into a liar. Because I was like, if I'm a liar, but I'm not lying, I'm a lie now because you told me I am, and no matter what I do, I still get in trouble. So what's the point? Um, so yeah, I have a lot of rage. I was mad. I was upset. A lot of wrath, a lot of anger, a lot of dark thoughts, a lot of attempts from the devil to entice me to do the wrong things. Sometimes I did, a lot of times I didn't. Uh, at one point, I literally just chose not to lie because I was like, this is a waste of my time. I'm taking time out of my day, out of my energy to lie for nothing. Um, oh yeah, I think another thing is the crazy thing is a lot of the stuff that my mom allowed my siblings to do, like they were allowed to go into Girl Scouts, they were allowed to sing in the choir, they were allowed to usher, they were allowed to go to social things. I wasn't allowed to do anything. Dang, it cut off again. Anyway, I wasn't allowed to do any of that. I was allowed to. Once I was supposed to do a praise dance, I got to do that. Supposed to do choir multiple times. Right before I was supposed to go on stage, my mom took me out of it. Never got to do Girl Scouts. Never got to go camping. Um, so a lot of things that could have put me in the position that I feel God is trying to put me in a position now to do, they took me out of or they sabotaged. Which is how you know it's a purpose. So this is part one. See you. God bless you.